Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. And I'm here to talk episode 1205 of Dark Shadows, 1841 Parallel Time. My God. Oh, goodness. The voiceover is done by the late, great Jonathan Frid. You know, my buddy Patrick McRae is right on this. There's something he brought up. There's just something to Jonathan Frid doing a voiceover, and it does really feel special when you hear Jonathan doing them. And this one especially, it gives you that extra sort of goosebump feeling when you hear him. So this episode, like you see many Dark Shadows episodes do recaps within their episodes, and that's exactly what episode 1205 starts. We saw by the end Melanie, who's possessed, banging on the door, the secret door that you know they have to stay in. Whoever gets drawn out of the lottery, whoever draws the X, really, it's not just the name, but now it's gonna be the names. Of course, especially to the last episode. So whoever draws the lottery slip, the unlucky one, uh, gets gets to stay in the room. And as before, if you survive, or if you don't die, or if you aren't totally insane, hey, the curse is lifted. So really interesting, right? So we see Melanie banging on the door. She's possessed, obviously, and she doesn't bang on it too terribly long in the opening here, because eventually she just passes out. This is the ghost unpossessing her. For the most part, the ghost only seems to possess her at certain periods of time eh, that seem to be just random. And it's really weird. I mean, they are sort of randomish times that the ghost just possesses Melanie, and it's really creepy. Obviously, Nancy Barrett does a great job here. So she passes out, and we cut to Morgan, Julia and Morgan, who are talking. And you've heard the phrase, confession is good for the soul, right? Well, Julia Collins is about to drop some heavy confession on Morgan, and he's no priest. Um, though his voice could carry a church, that's for sure. Uh, get I'll get my yelling joke in early. So Julia decides to tell Morgan the truth about Kendrick Young's sister Stella. So Julia Collins tells Morgan Collins the truth about Stella Young. Stella Young is dead, folks. Um, by the end of the last episode, they discovered Stella's body. Julia and Flora, that is, Julia Collins and Flora Collins. Now, there's a lot of interesting things happen here, so I'm not going to jump around. I'm going to take my time and talk. Um, Julia is telling Morgan about Stella, and he's like, "You did what?" She's telling him that Justin tried to kill Stella. Stella saw Justin going mad, and Justin did try to hurt Stella. So they locked her in the tower room. And Morgan's beside himself. He's like, "What? Why? Like, what? What possessed you to do this?" I gotta say, though Morgan is a bit of an antagonist in this episode, I gotta agree with him. I mean, me and Patrick McCray brought up this same point in our previous conversations. Huge shout out to him. It's just like you're sort of with Morgan on this one. It's like, why? Like, what did that really do? So, and then Morgan, who is the head of the household, he is the man of the house. tells her, well, go get her. Go, let her out. I can't. He's like, are you insane too? So he's the one, he's thinking, and the reason he's saying this, now this part here, he's not really being an antagonist. He's more because he's more saying it because he doesn't know Stella's dead yet. They haven't, Julia Collins has not told Morgan the whole story, but she's about to drop it on him. And drop it on him, she does, Morgan, Stella's dead. And he's just like, what? And they're sort of, in my view, Julia is sort of quick to point toward Melanie, and so is Morgan. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I mean, come on. I mean, considering how strange Julia Collins was acting in the previous episode, you mean you're not going to name yourself? How noble of you! I'm just saying. Um, Now, here's something really interesting. Julia Collins wants Morgan to take Stella and bury her. Keep in mind, in the very first episode of 1841 Parallel Time, um, Julia Collins and Flora Collins took Lamar Trask and buried his body all by themselves. I more think the reason they can't do this for Stella, that Julia and Flora can't bring themselves to do this to Stella, is because they feel so guilty for everything they already did for her, and they sort of can't bear to do it. And they really liked Stella. They all liked Stella, so they're asking Morgan to do it. And well, Morgan does do it. I mean, give him that much, right? So Morgan goes off to bury Stella Young, and we see Catherine in her home, which basically is Matthew Morgan's cottage, right? I know there's no Matthew Morgan, but that's where she's what we're going to call Matthew Morgan's cottage later on in the series. That's where she's staying, but they're saying this is Stella's home. I sort of this is my question, and it's a curious one. Was there an initial plan for 18? And if anyone knows, please tell me, because I don't on this part. I wonder if there was a plan to use the Evans cottage as her home, as her and her sister's home, because she. No, it's weird. We don't see Daphne in this episode, so as you hear my daughter. What's really interesting is that we don't see Daphne, so but that this is supposed to be Catherine Heritage's home, where the Bramwell's knocking on the door, and again we're calling later on in this. Well, in the beginning of the series, this is Matthew Morgan's cottage, so that's on the estate. So there's a knock at the door, and she says, "Who is it?" And the door opens, and it's Bramwell. Bramwell opens the door, and Catherine looks, and she turns away. Bramwell touches her, and he says, "It's a lover's touch." He talks sweet to her. She goes, "Yell at me, yell at me," and they start kissing. They look like they might want to get it on again. You know, Bramwell's all willing to do that again. He's trying to get her into the bedroom, and she's like, she turns away from him this time, and says, "The demon's in me," or she says, "You are a demon," more Bramwell. But so yeah, Bramwell knocks on the door. If I messed up the name, I don't think I did. But and the demons in me agree with you, but I can't. I love Morgan. So it's a little more the same from the episode we saw just 2 episodes ago. This time, Catherine does resist Bramwell, just barely though. So back in the great house where things are a rocking and a rolling, um, unless you're unless you're Stella Young. Too soon? Too soon? Okay. Um, we see Morgan has returned, and you notice there's a black armband on his arm. I think this is because of Justin's funeral. Um, you see that Morgan is talking to Julia Collins, and she goes, "Is it done?" He's like, "Yeah, it's done." And Morgan sits down, and you know, when Melanie comes down the steps and into the drawing room, he stands up and he says, "You." This here to me is where Morgan is really a bit of an antagonist towards Melanie. He's not sympathetic toward her. I could get behind him not being sympathetic towards Julia and Flora at this point in time because they sort of caused this mess. But Melanie honestly can't help it. And, it's sort of like, dude, like, you're sort of yelling at the wrong person. I'm more, and as much, I'm not going to hammer Morgan's feet to the floor too hard on this one. I simply think Keith Prentice's Morgan Collins is being antagonistic here, not because he's mad so much, not just because he's mad at Melanie. Yeah, he's mad at Melanie because she tried to kill Catherine, and she succeeded in killing Stella. Um, she did not succeed in killing Catherine, thank God. But she did, that we know, she did succeed. So I'm trying to give Melanie the benefit of doubt. Yeah. I'll set myself up for disappointment. But no, listen, if I could get him being mad at her for trying to kill uh, Catherine, but I think he's so mad at his Aunt Julie and his mother for lying to him, for keeping this from him. Morgan says something in the prior episode to Quentin about him looking on the outside. Well, really, the way some of the Collins family members act, they treat certain family members like they're outsiders. And sort of Morgan gets treated that way too, to a degree, by his mother and his aunt. But I more think that's their way. It's how they sort of treat everybody. I mean, Julia is Aunt Julia Collins is distant with everybody. Um, at least she doesn't play favorites. So again, Morgan's mad. He's a bit antagonistic toward Melanie. I get him being antagonistic towards Julia a little more. And then he walks out the door, and there's an all. It's Catherine. He said, "What are you doing here?" And she goes, "Oh, just hold, Morgan, hold me." And you hear Keith Prentice's Morgan Collins, "Yeah, me too. Hold me too." So you have both people needing a hug, and they hug each other. And they talk about getting married tonight on this episode. And that's what they're going to plan to do. They're going to get married. According to Morgan Collins, hey, we've had the marriage license long enough. So let's get, Catherine insists on getting married tonight. Morgan agrees. And they're going to get hitched. Or so we see. Or so they say. No, there's going to be no shotgun involved. Did they make shotguns in 1841? I don't know, but I believe they did. Yeah, they did. I'm pretty sure. Probably sawed-off shotgun. Ugh. So, uh, oh god, I have evil thoughts. Anyway, so we do see Bramwell as well. Oh, sorry, I jumped apart. My apologies. We see Melanie meet Kendrick outside, and they're at the gazebo, if you want to call it a gazebo, and Melanie is crying. I love this kissing scene between John Carlin and Nancy Barrett. It's so well done, obviously, and I know they've played husband and wife in a movie, and they've played husband and wife in the series, so it's nothing new to them. But to see it here, it seems it seems even more fresh for some reason. I can't put to you why. Maybe you have a reason, but it looks so crisp and fresh and good here. And I think honestly, simply because they're playing two completely different characters. Melanie isn't a Collins, and Kendrick isn't a Collins either. He's Kendrick Young. um, Melanie's adopted, by the way. But so we have we have a kissing scene between them, and Melanie's still upset because Melanie believes she's the one who killed Stella Young, Kendrick's sister, and she tells a lie here, telling him that she left, and then she just runs off, and he just can't. Why is she so upset? She can't figure it, or sorry, he can't figure it. Then we see Bramwell, who comes to the house and says to Morgan Collins that his mother has come back from Boston to give Morgan's mother something. Now, I've talked about Morgan being a antagonist. If you notice, when Morgan's most his is at his most antagonistic, it is when Bramwell is in the episodes. Jonathan Fritz character. That's just something I've noticed with these going back one episode at a time. I know I'm doing a deep dive. I know some people might not like it, some people might like it, and I just hope you guys enjoy this. Oh, God. Keep in mind, in the prior episode, Morgan saw the woman in white, and so did Julia Collins. Um, the, the two-parter that me and my buddy Patrick were created. Again, huge shout out to him. I'm going to give some shout outs throughout at the end of this video as well and leave some links. Uh, so expect good stuff. Uh, Morgan is talking to Bramwell about his ship coming in, and Bramwell's like, I didn't know you take an interest in my ship. So this ship coming in means Bramwell will have his fortune. Meanwhile, Morgan is taunting Bramwell because Morgan knows that Catherine and he are going to be wed tonight. And Bramwell sort of sees through this, and it's not hard. I mean, come on. Um, I don't want to sit here and knock any actor. I'm not knocking Keith Prentice per se, but I think this is just laid on too thick. I mean, Bramwell gets this with one time, and you can sort of see Jonathan Fritz selling it too. That okay, hey, something's going on here, and I get he's supposed to be an antagonist, and he's gonna be your villain. And I did say that when Bramwell's in the episodes, that's when Morgan Collins is at his most antagonistic, and rightfully so. He is here too. He's he's very antagonistic towards Bramwell. There's a hatred. You can feel it between the two of them. Um, I would say this is way worse than what Jeremiah and Barnabas ever were. Because Jeremiah did love Barnabas and Barnabas loved Jeremiah. You can cut the tension with a doll spoon between the two of them. So we're at the wedding. If any man should find cause that this man and woman shall be wed, speak now, forever hold their peace. Guess who walks in the door? It's Bramwell. Bramwell walks in the door, and Laura Parker's face. Oh no! Oh no! It's like, why? Catherine, Catherine is standing there. Morgan's standing there. I think Aunt Julia's standing there. It's not gonna go well. All right. So Bramwell's standing there, and that's where it ends. By the way, no one helps Melanie up from from the floor when she faints. She gets up on her own and she questions why she's there. So Melanie is questioning herself of what's going on finally. And this is the episode where she really does finally question herself. I think that's one of the biggest key things about this episode that I want you to go back and notice. Notice when after Melanie collapses, she gets up, and this is not at the end. This is at the beginning. She gets up and she wonders, why am I here? What am I doing in this room? Like, it's really well done by the writers and really well done by Nancy Barrett, obviously, as Melanie. Um, Everybody does a great job in this episode. I mean, it's really, really good. Um, Time for my shout outs, folks. First of all, I want to give some huge shout outs. First of all, to Christine and Kara Christine Pierce and Kara Tillies for Between the Shadows, the Dark Shadows podcast. Link to their channel will be in the description box. I want to give a huge shout out to Penny Dreadful. Uh, Link to her channel will be in the description box. I want to give obviously a very, very huge shout out to my buddy Mark Gilman. No, he does not have a channel. He is a guest on this channel. I need to get his butt back on here because we got videos to do, me, him, and Daniel. I have not forgot. I have not forgot. Though my age, I'm getting up. Let's see. Huge shout out to my buddy Patrick McRae. Link again to go get his Dark Shadows Daybook will be in the description box. Huge shout out to two other guests I've had on this channel. Susie, huge shout out to her. Huge shout out to Dawn Schmidt. Huge shout out to Fred Barnabas. Um, I'm trying to keep in mind that people do not like their names. Some people don't like their real names revealed, so I do keep that in mind. Huge shout out to @Dark Shadows Twitter. Um, Again, if you're on Twitter, go follow those people @Dawn Schmidt, @Mayflower May. Probably butchered that. I'm sorry. @Fred Barnabas, go follow him. Um, @Real Patrick, @Real McCrae, Patrick McCrae. Um, @Penny Dreadful 13, I don't care, @Lady Mongoose for Christine. Um, Trying to think. @Dark Shadows Twitter, @Dark Shadows Episodic Twitter, for @Dark Shadows Twitter, obviously. I think I got everybody. Again, Mark's not on Twitter anymore. Huge shout out to him, though. I mean, Mark's awesome, man. He's on Instagram, though. Go follow him on Instagram. Mark Gilman's on Instagram. Go give him a follow. Um, just huge shout outs to all the Dark Shadows fans. It's really, it's really cool to come on here and talk Dark Shadows. I love talking Dark Shadows with you guys, to you guys and gals. It is a lot of fun to do. And again, thank you everybody who supports the channel. Thank you everybody. Thank you Daniel Culver. Thank you Darnell Weeks. Thank you just everybody. Thank you to my wife Julie. I feel like I don't thank you guys enough, and thank you everybody. Just I am truly, truly blessed. Thank you to everybody who subs to the channel, who watches. You are all amazing people. Thank you so very much. Um, these are going to continue, obviously. I'm going to continue doing these by episode. You're going to get by episode for 1841 Parallel Time. Why did, and Patrick had asked me, why did I do this? Simply because I wanted to, and it's Dark Shadows, so why not, look, in many ways, this needed done to sort of deep dive this specific era because some people just don't like it. And I do understand. I mean, I'm not knocking you if you don't. I'm not knocking you if you do. I can understand why. But I think there's some good solid storytelling with some good solid characters in this arc. So all right, all those links will be in the description box. Go sub to their channels. Go check them out on Twitter. Go buy Patrick's book. See, I have a lot to do. A lot of links to go get. The things I do to myself. You guys have a great night. Bye bye.